sketchy areas in terms of like finding breathing holes and things like that. So you'll see large groups of them just because that's the only spot that they're able to reach the surface to take a breath. They've actually even had problems where it froze up, and unfortunately narwhals were unable to find other holes, and they basically drowned. See that calf on top there? Yeah. Right. Now we got a picture here of a muskox. Yeah, they're gnarly looking. Yeah, there's not much to them except for fur. I had a taxidermist tell me how much the pelt weighed. I can't remember what it was. It was crazy how, like, between the fur and then just how thick their hide is. Should try to get a pic of that calf. I don't know what he's got on his skin. It looked like a whole bunch of weird bumps or something. I just caught a quick glance. See that?
Yeah.
Bunch of pink bumps on it. If you guys get the opportunity to catch a snapshot, it's kind of actually on that side of the boat right now. Here it comes. There it is. Oh, you missed it. It's gonna come up in a sec here. Just watch for it. I'll tell you when it's coming up. It's in the middle now. It's gonna be on this side. Just be a good photo to send to Stefan. Here it comes. Oh, psych. There. There's a big group right behind you, right in front. So do you guys, is there any tagging done with the grizzlies at all, or?
There have been a few studies. I'm not super familiar with all of them. I know that we've got quite a few that we've captured on the wildlife cameras over the years. Yeah. And there have been a lot of sightings. We have some live cameras on the Cape as well, so we see them occasionally on there.
Oh, okay, and that's kind of how you keep tabs on them?
Yeah. There's a lot of private or university research that goes on in the park as well. Mm-hmm. But the polar bears and the snow geese and the belugas are what suck up most of the attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it seems to be the highlights while coming here. Do grizzlies and stuff, because they say polar bears will den in the same spots all the time, or like they do go back to the same area each year? Is that the same with grizzlies? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I know that I think they're a little bit less loyal than the polar bears. The polar bears really they do like their spot that they'll return to, and the grizzlies I think are a little bit less so, and maybe would seek out new spots.
Because I've heard black bears more or less, they'll just even crawl under a stump or something, or a
or
fallen
someone's
tree.
deck.
Yeah,
they're definitely more flexible. Yeah.
And yeah, just from what I was reading, they said the grizzlies, they tend to seek out softer soil near like rivers and things like that, easier to dig in.
Yeah, they like to make it easy on themselves. The polar bear dens that we have here are a little bit different too than the high Arctic. So instead of burying completely under old snow, because we don't have old snow here, we just have snow that falls every year new. They bury in the peat. And so Wapask National Park has the world's largest peat mantle.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too.
Yeah, and so that's why we have the highest concentrations of dens.
And the peat, like, it's something people harvest it, and like not in Wapask as far as I know, but it takes a long time to regenerate, doesn't it? Like, it's something that doesn't just grow back.
It does, and it's super sensitive. When you talk about a carbon sink, you're talking about the peat. And yeah, it's essentially decomposing organic matter, but it really helps to have that for the maternal dens.
It's similar too for like I've done landscaping in the past, and I always wanted to build a pond. You can do like a pond, I can't remember what the exact name for it was, but you kind of create sort of a bog. It's just like a lot of plant matter, and then instead of having a filtration system, that's actually what does it for you. And it just cycles through, and isn't that like a lot with the peat as well? It's
for sure. It can be sort of like a filter, a sponge filter, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's a really important thing for the ecosystems that we have here, but it is fragile, unfortunately, and so it can be exposed really easily. Even just a person walking over it, you'll expose some of the peat. The vegetation on top is very, very fragile.
It's like walking on a waterbed.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So anybody out there that likes to garden, that's a common grow media, especially if you're like germinating seeds and things. Instead of getting peat, you can get things like coconut husk, and you'll have a big brick of coconut husk, and you break it into chunks, and then or just put the whole brick in the water, and then it just swells up and breaks apart, and you could use that instead of peat to start your seeds for your garden. Also, there's little cubes of like rock wool that you could buy as well and plant your seeds in there too. Don't use peat moss.
All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What about nutrients? So you still are fertilizing? Use like natural? Do you use manure and stuff? Simon's talking about growing potatoes right now, and instead of using say soil as a grow media, he's talking about using hay. And then that way you're not having to clean off your potatoes unless you're yeah. I'm just gonna try to hang out here for a second, see if these guys wanna. Sometimes if we park, they'll just hover around the boat for a while. These ones are coming in hot. See what they're gonna do. They slowed down a little bit. Still coming though. We do have them underneath us. here's some picture times for the underwater cam. Some big adults. Holy, that one's a whopper. It's huge. Hey? Yeah. Hey, he's gonna work it off later. Oh, he's flipping around. Oh, that's the wrong way. Oh, a little tail whip there. Oh, we got a few fox from the Cape cams on here.
Oh, cool.
Cross and a red and a Arctic. So if anybody's curious and hasn't seen any of these before, I guess mainly the cross and the Arctic might pique someone's interest the most. Most people are familiar with the red fox. They're like all over the world. I think I only caught the tail end of it, but it was a documentary on how resilient and capable of adapting they are. I think they have a problem. Well, there's a pile of them in London. Actually, Simon might know about that. Red fox in London. They're all over the place, aren't they? There's
pretty much. They're not by any means domesticated.
No, but they've made a life for themselves in London.
People do.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard. Oh, really? Oh, what'd I do? Oh, we do have one, it's kinda working. They're checking us out. Two of them. Oh, we got a question here. Oh, about the other day when we thought, yeah, I seen a whale. I couldn't really tell if it was giving birth or what it was, but no one was really sure. I tried to explain it to Stefan, but he wasn't able to give me a definite answer, so kinda unsure about that one. It would have been nice to know, but like we decided not to bother it at all, so we just hopefully whatever was going on though, it all worked out for the best. So I guess that I think Charlene commented from Facebook last time, which means we might be live on Facebook right now. Good time then, I guess, to reintroduce ourselves. I'm Kyron McIver, captain of the Churchill boat for the summer here in Churchill, Did I say the Churchill boat? Of the Beluga boat here in Churchill, Manitoba, Canada. And we're out just in the estuary now, and we got a few hanging along with us. And I'm joined by a couple people today on the boat.
I'm Anae. I'm working for Parks Canada. I'm a biology student at the University of Winnipeg and loving being on the Churchill River today.
And then I'm pretty sure everybody's fairly familiar with Simon now. You've probably seen him on the cam. There's lots of pictures of him in the snapshot gallery if you guys... Yeah. He's a professional photographer. He's been out with us, I don't know what this is, 4 or 5 times now, taking photos and videos. If you guys want to check out some of his work, go to canuckimages.com and you can see some of the galleries. He's got lots of cool Churchill photos, including piles of the polar bears. We've been talking about fox. I've seen some deadly photos of the Arctic fox. And then he's got some amazing photos of the auroras as well, and then there's just numerous other galleries on the website. where you can see some of the other photos they've taken. So go check that out. I'll talk a little bit about beluga bits again. Make sure you're coming by explore.org and then go in the search bar and type in beluga cam, and you'll get the underwater, the above water cams come up, and you'll see an icon in the top right hand corner where you can take snapshots. And what we're looking for is just different identification marks on the whales, scars, notches in the dorsal ridge, just anything else that sets them apart from the others, and then also belly shots so they could determine sex. And then Dr. Stefan Peterson at the Assiniboine Conservancy takes all that information and uses it for his research, and very much appreciates everybody that helps us out with that. Got a few juvies hanging out with us now. I don't know where the adults took off to, but we're just near Cockles Point now. We've kind of migrated up the river a little bit, and it's been good so far this afternoon. We've been getting a good amount of action here, kind of a steady flow of whales hanging out with us. And actually, now that we're a little further upstream too, I'm noticing the visibility, it seems pretty close to the same. I think it's a little bit better than it has been the past few days. That whale checked out the camera and then took off. Doesn't want to be famous, I guess. Definitely appreciate the questions. Keep them coming in. If you guys are curious or want to know anything, we'll do our best to answer them. And if not, then I'll make sure I look it up and you guys can tune in tomorrow, or I could talk to some of the experts we have in the area and we can have an answer for you the next time we're out on the boat. Yeah. It's getting a little choppier out now. The wind's kind of picked up a bit. When we started off, it was nice and smooth. Just a few ripples in the water. It wasn't glassy, but about as close as you can get to it. And this is still pretty good too. Maybe not, Simon's got to watch his equipment a little more from splashes, but yeah, so I guess if, I don't know, I'm not sure if I answered that last question clear enough or not, but go back to it. I just wasn't able to give Simon enough information, or not Simon, Stefan enough information for him to really give me a, he wasn't confident, I guess, in giving me a good answer as to what it would have been. Anywhere. Simon's asking on the markings on the whale what we're looking for. Some of them, I'll maybe post some photos tonight, that a couple that I've taken. Some have some wicked scars in their backs. Like we've seen some. I seen one that had, like, it looked like it was missing a chunk of meat. Look at all those ones there. Everything we've seen so far, I haven't seen a lot of fresh wounds or anything, but a lot of them are all healed up. Everything looked like, you might want to get that one. There's like 8 heads poking up there. We got some weird interaction happening with a group of adults in front of us. There's
spy hopping.
Yeah. Spy hopping. Yeah, that's when the whale basically comes straight up out of the water. And there's a good group of them doing it right now. We won't try not to bug them too much. They look like they're having fun.
That's hilarious. They look like they're dancing.
Yeah, they're doing synchronized swimming. They're a little bit out of tune though, it looks like. Out of sync, I mean. There you go. You got your camera just snapping a million pictures.
You look at the front of the camera, it's
What are they doing? We haven't seen that kind of behavior. Up close at least. Like I said, each day is different out here in the estuary. Keep a bit of distance. I'll just drift here for a second. Wow, I don't even know how many there are there. Like 6? They're all just staying up at the surface. You can see the cameras pointed over at them. Oh, and they spotted us. Here they come. Maybe this group will hang out with us for a little bit. That's weird, eh? They just stopped and headed straight for us. Oh, cool. Right here, eh? Can hear them. Hear that? And they're off. That was cool. Goofing around. Oh, they're coming back. They heard us kicking the motor, that's what it is. Like, what is that? That's funny. So while we're cruising here, I'll just go back before I forget to what Simon was saying. He was asking about what kind of markings we're looking for, and they just got, some of them got some really obvious, crazy scars. They'll have notches in their dorsal ridge. We've seen some that have kind of weird patches, like just discolored patches, and it didn't look like they're losing their pigment, like going from the gray to white in adulthood. It just looked odd. I got a photo the other day of one that looked like it had some swelling or something going on behind its blowhole, and it was hard to say if it was an infection or if it was just born that way. So basically anything that makes it so that we can identify the whales, and that way Stefan's able to determine if they're coming back and revisiting the same estuary each year, or how many are coming back. Or so with the amount of whales that we have here, we're really wanting as many photos as possible. Last year they got around 7,000, which is amazing. The more the merrier. Put these guys to work. Pardon?
So cool.
Yeah.
It's like a squadron of planes coming up behind.
I know. They're all big adults again. Keep an eye on them because it seems like they're still going to be goofing around with each other a little more once we get separated here. Sure can hear them though. Man, if I glance away for 1 second, they're change direction on you.
This will probably need new battery.
Oh, here they come. Where they went. Another group right up in front of us. Oh, we might get these two groups teaming up. Here's one there, and then we're just pulling up to another one here hanging out. They're doing the same thing as that other one does. That was doing, Simon. Rolling around. Can definitely hear them. Oh, the other ones are coming back. We're gonna have a big group now. Fluke coming out of the water. Man, they're just, I don't know what they're doing, eh? It's like weird socializing behavior, even the ones there again. Just mingling.
We're in the midst of a beluga social, and a social's a very Manitoban thing. You might not know about it, but that's what these belugas are up to.
I'm excited to get that speaker working because I've mentioned it before too. People that are tuning in frequently and listening to us every day, they can see the whales behaving this way, or when we're hanging out with them and they're in a big feeding frenzy, and you can maybe listen and tell the different vocalizations. There might be very obvious, you know, different noises they're making. They've mapped out 11 or 12 of them, I think, but belugas are known to have something like 100 or more different vocalizations. So the grizzly bears up here and stuff, they eat some plants and stuff. Like, they're more carnivorous though than anything, aren't they? Or will they be like a black bear and survive off berries? And
They are omnivores as well, but certainly they would prefer meat.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The polar bears are a bit different though. They're carnivores for sure.
Yeah, they're nothing but
Yeah, big fans of seals, and when they can get them, a beluga. But that's a pretty big undertaking, pulling a beluga out of
no kidding.
out of a hole. Some of the scratch marks on the belugas might be swipes from polar bears too.
Yeah, Stefan mentioned that you could see sometimes you'll see a bunch of kind of scrapes going horizontal with the body, and that he said is commonly like beluga teeth, like other beluga whales. But if you see ones that are running vertically, yeah, it could have been a polar bear trying to latch on. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we've seen quite a bit of crazy scars. Like I don't know, I just don't know what would be chowing or biting them besides a polar bear when they're missing chunks or have those
When they're missing
scars.
chunks, yeah, it makes you wonder. I mean, the little scrapes, probably the ice are causing it, but there are some deep ones.
Same with the dorsal ridge, like just jamming up against the ice, and
there'll be little cuts in it.
Part of the reason they think they don't have a dorsal fin is because they're more well adapted for the environment, just like the narwhal. Holy, they're just all over the place now. You think it'd be difficult for the grizzlies here, just because I know, say this winter there was piles of caribou, there's tons of food around. Not, I guess that they're out all winter hunting or eating anyways, but there's just more, there's years where it's more plentiful than others. Like I'm told some years you won't even see a caribou track. There just won't be anything here. And then of course the wolves, the fox, the wolverine, everything moves, right? They'll go where the food is, but it must be tougher for a grizzly.
Yeah, for sure. There certainly affects all the way along the food chain, depending on what's doing well and what's not. There's definitely a fallout.
Just odd to think that a grizzly, which, you know, is better suited for, say, more south than here, would decide to make a home up here. Like, just the struggle seems so much
for
more
sure.
intense.
I mean, as we get more and more evidence to support, you know, the idea of climate change, and a lot of that evidence is animals typically found farther south are moving up, right? Kind of edging out the more Arctic animals. Yeah.
I know we got, it was a few years back, we started seeing turkey vultures at home, and that wasn't common. Like, that was kind of out of their migratory area or boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now each year you can see them out there sometimes, and yeah, it's odd, but yeah, I guess a good way to, or good evidence, I guess, that things are changing.
For sure, yeah. There's a lot of monitoring initiatives going on in the area. I mean, Canadian Ice Surfaces monitors the sea ice, and of course there's all sorts of fallout in terms of polar bears and where they are. We have radio collars on quite a few of them, and so it's interesting because this year the ice is thin compared to other years, but bears are actually staying out on the ice a little bit longer than usual. There have been a lot fewer sightings than typical at this point in the year. But
if you look, because you can see the maps, right, and it'll tell you how much ice is still out.
Yeah.
It looks like a lot, like the surface area.
For sure.
Looks like there's still a lot, and they said it's starting to make its way back down the coast towards Churchill again.
Yeah, there definitely is still ice out there, but from what I've heard, it's a little thinner than it has been.
Yeah. It's so crazy that who was I talking to, and they're telling me just how far, or the record that they know of polar bears swimming to make it back to shore.
Yeah.
Doesn't even, I don't get how it's possible. I mean, because they eat, they stuff their faces, get big and fat, and then it seems like you just burn off all of that stored energy swimming back to shore.
Absolutely, yeah. They can move when they need to.
Yeah.
They have radio collars on quite a few of the western Hudson Bay polar bears. Mostly females though, because the males, just the way their body's shaped, they kind of have a little hump and the collars fall off. But there's one female this year who had come onto shore and then found a little more ice and is back out in the bay now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wonder how, like, did it just come close enough for her to see it, or how the heck do they know there's ice there?
Well, they can track, they do surveys and they'll fly over and things like that.
But I mean, like, how would the bear know that, like, with the ice? What was that? Jeez.
I guess she got close enough to see it.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool.
Or was feeling a little brave and took a little swim.
Yeah. It's pretty lucky. Yeah, they say the male bears, and they're the more problematic for the area, like in the wintertime. They're the ones that'll come to town all the time. They gotta put them in bear jail to relocate them.
Yeah.
But it's like a conical shaped neck, so their necks are larger than their heads, so the collars, you say, just slide off, I guess.
Yeah.
When I was told they're using ear tags now, it's just the batteries or the life of it isn't as long as the collars, I think.
Yeah. There's still a few collared bears, but yeah, ear tags are definitely an option that people have been leaning towards.
It's good then, like, especially for the males, because you'd think that way they know they're coming, right? They can keep tabs on them rather than just wait for someone to call.
Yeah.
It makes less potential for there to be a problem, and that's good for obvious people and then the bears as well. Limit those interactions as much as possible. Look at the waves out there right now. Holy smokes. At the mouth. Crashing.
Oh, wow,
They're
yeah.
huge. Go grab our surfboards after.
These whales are just having a party.
Yeah. And we're crashing it. They don't seem to mind as long as we stick a little farther back.
Yeah, they're floating on their backs.
Still mingling. Now they're coming to check us out.
Is it called a Fata Morganis or something like that, isn't it?
Hey?
Fata Morganis. It's what you're seeing out there, it's the
Right. It looks, when you've got something out on the horizon, like a big chunk of ice or whatever it may be, it kind of, that sounds right, something like that. It can look even like city skyscrapers coming towards you.
Oh.
Whole ships flip upside down.
Yeah.
Great story.
That one's got a really distinct gash there.
And some of them you could see like are deep. I can't remember all the layers, so it's their skin, then the muktuk is I think what they call it, and then blubber underneath that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously not qualified to say, but Stefan, he can kind of tell just how deep the wounds or the gashes are based on the scarring or just looking at it. Like stuff like that maybe is more of a surface wound and might heal up pretty good, or next time they molt they'll get rid of it. But here they go, there's a good camera shot. I'm gonna have to pick a day one of these days that I can go out snorkeling. I just had somebody ask here if the polar bears can smell the ice. See, I don't know, because ice typically, like what other thing I didn't know, so when salt water freezes, as the winter goes on and it freezes more and more, it's excreting the salt, so you get these little pockets in the ice, right? And then it's just getting more of the salinity's going up in those pockets until it basically just pushes it all out and it's fresh water. And animals are able to smell, that's how they find water holes, like say in Africa. Those animals are able to find the water because they can smell it. So I don't know if fresh big chunk of ice with fresh water would give off a scent. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not.
I'll have to ask a polar bear.
There's weirder things that happen.
Mm-hmm. They certainly have a good nose for prey, so I wouldn't be surprised if
Maybe
they're
they
able
could
to pick
sniff
up
the
on that
seals
kind of
if
thing.
they're hanging out on the ice.
Yeah, for sure.
That might be catch a good whiff of a seal. Yeah, like black bears, they say, I've heard people say 7 times or 10 times more powerful than a bloodhound for their scent, which is pretty wild.
And if you kind of put that in perspective, an entire town emitting odors, right?
Yeah.
From garbage and the dump and restaurants and
Well,
everything really.
Yeah, I don't get when you observe the black bears. I've spent a decent amount of time with them now. You can see there'll be a group of black bears in one area, and then all of a sudden they just stop and then just booker all of them. So there's all these black bears. There's all these black bears, and they're all eating stinky food and stuff. And there's just they can differentiate. Say there's 10 bears there, and they could tell the difference between. All of a sudden they catch a whiff, and they'll take off like a shot, and then a few minutes later this big boar will come strutting in. Like they're able to separate the smells. Like it's pretty impressive.
I've even heard of polar bears smelling a propane tank and coming running.
Really?
Yeah, they like the propane smell, and they like the smell of alcohol a lot.
What's the thing with polar bears and skidoo seeds?
Right. It might be the smell of the gas. It might
They
be.
like jerry cans too, chewing jerry cans. Black bears do that too.
The chemicals of the seed.
The seed itself, it could be. They do kind of like some of those stronger chemical smells. Yeah. But I've heard, you'll come across a skidoo that has the seat ripped off and chewed, and
Yeah, you always got to remove your seat. You'll hear too people having their cabins broken into, and the curtains behind, say if they have a window above their stove or in the kitchen, the curtains will be ripped away, and then you'll find a big pile of bear crap with curtains in it, because they'll just get the oil and stuff off the stove. Anything that's got cooking oil, that's why you just gotta make sure everything's spotless before you leave, and don't spill things when you're out in your cabin, because those bears, they'll sniff it out and they'll eat everything that even has the faint odor of food. I've heard if like we're able to tune into skunk smells and like very like I don't know what I wouldn't be able to say what parts per million, but really minimal. So they said that's the equivalent to like how a dog smells all the time, right? The amount of skunk that we're able to pick up on the little bit in the air is like how a dog smells everything.
It's on?
It's on the little recording.
Okay. I've been pressing the top button, that's all it takes, yeah?
As long as the red is flashing red,
Yeah.
then we're good to go. So
They say millennials are good at technology. They didn't count me in there.
You'll see yesterday.
Yeah.
I was vigilant about changing my batteries in the GoPro. I was aiding about it.
And not yeah. And,
I just got distracted because it was such a good day.
Yeah.
You know, like today.
yeah. I think it's gonna get even more busy if it's anything like it's been the past few days. Yeah, there's a few just up here too.
I wonder if those guys were feeding or they're just having fun.
Yeah, I don't know, when they're feeding, they're up and down, they're diving lots. You can see when you can. Oh yeah, you can tell when they're feeding because you can see that they're diving more than they're just cruising along when they're in resting mode.
They recognise each other. Like,
Well, I was wondering that when they say like it's common for polar bears to get separated, the cubs from their mothers, and like we've talked about it, Simon and I, and I've talked to a few other people. There's times where there's just a whole ton of confusion, right? There'll be two mother bears and a couple cubs, and they just get all mixed up. Really? It's just crazy though to think that, say, like a penguin or a seal or any of those types of animals, they're all squawking on shore. Like, have you ever seen where like penguins give birth or the seals, and they can tell the difference from the call?
it wasn't the mother's
They're
choice.
jumping.
It wasn't the mother's choice, it was the cub. The cub wouldn't come.
Yeah. Huh?
Crazy, this lot.
Oh, that's cool. We're heading back. We got that group that's horsing around again. I don't know what to even call it. Looks like they're just playing, I guess, at the surface. We're almost back. Tomorrow is the last, well, not the last evening, but the last day before we get back into mornings. And then we're out bright and early. It's tomorrow Friday. Saturday we'll be out at 6 in the morning. Huh? Yeah. It'll be 3 days of 2 trips a day. We'll be out in the mornings and in the evenings. How have the bugs been for you guys out there this year?
There have been good days and there have been very bad days. Yeah, we have given a few tours out at the fort in full bug nets,
Yeah.
but other days with a little bit of breeze. It's fine.
It's not bad. I've heard, horror stories before I came up here, but yeah, although we've had some days where you're just getting eaten alive, I just figured was going to be every day, 24 hours a day, but you get days like this where there's just nothing.
Yeah, today is beautiful, not a bug at all.
Oh, I've got a lot of editing to do later.
Well, you can see they flip around, they hear the motor kicking. Here they come.
This is right there, like the naughty boys of the flock. Playful boys. That's awesome. Thanks so much.
No worries. They like it. They come closer.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing a little intermission and then they go back to doing what they were doing.
It really just looks like they're having fun. I don't know what else to call it. Have you seen this before?
No, like you can see, not up this close. There's times where you look and you can see stuff splashing around, but not for this long either. I'm sure it happens. I bet you it's just one of those things, right place, right time. We're just getting lucky. It's funny because it seems like the adults are more playful, or they're more curious sometimes, and they're more brave. They're the ones that when they follow behind the boat, they'll be surfacing, right up alongside the Zodiac. Or the juvies and the calves and stuff don't do that as much. There, that's a cool one. Sun shining off their noggins there, the melons. Doesn't take much to get their attention and they come right back at us.
guys are so playful. They're so curious.
Just watching one right beside me here. Oh, he's biting the camera. Yeah. There'll be some mouth shots coming up I'm sure, pretty soon. Hear him? Just looking right up. Let's see if we got a mouth shot here. So it definitely seems like the clarity's getting better. I haven't been able to see the cam that well the past couple days, but I can see it now. And the whale just keeps coming back up to it. Are they hanging out on that side too? Well, there they go. And here they come, right back at us. The whole group. Oh, might have a whole bunch of them going by the cam here. Whoa, what's smoking over there? Got some big black plume of smoke coming up with the tank farm. It looks like. Yeah, they're just burning something. Whoa, there it goes. Like, that's a big puff. What is? Well, hopefully that's... Well, luckily, Heather, I talked to her yesterday. She's from Park. She'll be out on the boat. She said she works with the fire department and they average a 5-minute response time in Churchill. So if we do have an issue, then wow, it's really smoking now. Hopefully they'll be there right away to get it dealt with. Yeah, holy, that's a lot of smoke. Hopefully everything's alright. Looks like you're sitting in a jacuzzi here with how many whales are blowing bubbles around us. They're still just hanging out there, right?